Texans. I am County Commissioner Kanae Turner from Cook County, and we are here today to get this bill stopped. SB 1340 to be stopped before anything else goes forward. Today, I have here behind me many of your constituents from the state legislature from all across Texas. I'm from Cook County. Senator Craig Estes, I'm in his district, and I personally know as an elected official, my county cannot afford what 1340 has been planned for us. Most of the people in my county, 72% of the county, lives under $50,000 a year. And know the increase of tax, because that's what your state budget comes from, is the taxpayers' money, cannot afford this. I have with me today a small businesswoman from a family-owned construction who cannot afford the new implementations that will become forward from Senator Fraser area. And then I have a superintendent who's focusing on developing her school district from Senator Corona's area. And then I have a mother who's trying to live the best for her children, set an example, but not necessarily has the funds. And so I would just like to let each of your constituents, because as we know, as an elected official, they are the basics, the foundation of this democracy, this great country. And due to them, we are here to represent them. So I would like you to all hear from these constituents.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a small business owner. I own a small construction company with my husband that's been around for 2 generations. We have 3 small children, and we've had this small business, ever since we got married. We've been trying really hard to make it work. The things that we've been going through as a small business, there are plenty of others in different counties, construction companies, and one of the things that I want to point out is that we just got out of the housing bubble, and that's something that has been really hard for us. We put together basically the costs of implementing all this for our company, because the kind of things that we have to do is get new equipment for energy efficient construction. We have to retrain all our workers, and all these implementations are going to cost money, and the permits that we need to get, I'm going to have to hire a lawyer. We don't exactly have the education, because we were never able to get it, to know how to fill out all these permits and get all these restrictions done. So basically, in the past 2 years, we have really been struggling. Our income for the past 2 years out of our construction company was $40,000 a year. Now it's recently gone up to $60,000, which, coming out of the housing bubble, we feel like we're getting back up there and making up all the losses that we have had. The problem is that the approximate cost of supplies, training workers, and hiring lawyers for permits is going to be $180,000. And they are giving us 3 years for this, and making maybe $60,000 if things go well a year. We're not going to be able to come up with $180,000 in those 3 years. So I'm not sure where my business is going to go and how my family is going to be able to survive. So I please ask that you think about all the other small business owners and families that are affected by this.
Good morning, fellow citizens. My name is Brenda Guillen, and I am the superintendent of the Richardson Independent School District within District 16. I am here to represent the viewpoints of the Board of Education, as well as the many school districts in agreement with ours in opposition of the ratification of the bill at hand. I am in part defending our district's reputation as a nationally recognized schools by U.S. News and World Report. In fact, this past year, we had one of our high schools was ranked number 49 in Texas and top 3 nationally. By this, I'm speaking out for my employees against the policies discussed in this bill. This clearly proves that we manage a well-rounded and competent school system, that could be affected negatively by the ratification of this bill. First and foremost, our greatest concern is the issue of federal funding for our education budget, which will likely be limited as a result of the assumption that the funds required for this new bill, if passed, will be taken away from education. And quite frankly, our funds for the education department are already low. And we would hate to see a negative effect on teachers' salary, after-school program, extracurricular activities, the sports departments, and many other programs, which clearly have led to success within our school and our rankings. Members of the committee, if this bill were to be passed, my concern is for the future of educational funding, because once state buildings are updated with the new energy efficiency codes and regulations, schools will soon follow and will be required to do so as well. The cost of these renovations will inevitably be one that is beyond our budget funds and will therefore require us to use property tax income, as federal funding may not suffice. Then the issue will be problematic to our citizens, we just heard a little bit from, who may not possibly withstand a large increase in taxes, depending on the total cost or request presented for this bill, which is currently also questionably unclear at the moment. With that, my final statement is a plea for economic tranquility. Our economy as a nation and state is currently in bad conditions, and this bill does nothing to directly and promptly improve it. In fact, it will only worsen the situation, especially and firstly at the local level. Therefore, I hope you consider revising this bill to create a more gratifying solution which will sustain an energy-efficient system, as well as please and fulfill the pressing needs of our citizens. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Yuri Soto, and I'm here because I'm afraid that if I don't take time off work to come and explain the situations, others will go ahead and make decisions without taking into consideration. I'm a hardworking young widow. A couple of years ago, I lost my husband. As a result, I became a single mother of 6 children. I started working 2 jobs in order to make ends meet. For the past year, my work schedule has been horrible. I work from 7 to 1, and then I get my break, and then I don't come out until 5. Start my second job from 5 to 1 a.m. I'm so lucky if I get to spend a Saturday off every 3 weeks, every 3 months with my kids. You can imagine the guilt that I have felt for the past 2 years, but it's necessary. Now, if this bill passes, who will be paying for all the hidden costs that no one has been asking about? It will be us, the taxpayers and the consumers. My property taxes will probably be increased, and this is unacceptable. Taxpayers will be paying for something that isn't a real concern. This is garbage. This is my hard-earned money that I have been working hard for, that we're talking about. I have 2 high schoolers that will go to college next year. I've been doing my best to provide them for a better future. I want my tax money to work towards fixing problems that we have right now. Now, instead of creating problems and waste our tax money. Senator Frazier, you represent me, and I trust that you will not let this impact my daily life and the future of my children. Thank you.
So, as you can see, many of your constituents, the breadwinners of today, of our country, the businesswoman, the mother, the educator, are here to focus on our investment in our children. This is what our focus is at. This is where our money should be put to help the right now, so we can see the product, not a long-term way of something that's indeterminate funds. We do not know the cost. You will not purchase anything without seeing the price. So, committee members, hopefully you have heard from your citizens what they want. Thank you. Now we're open for questions.
Okay, my question is that you guys are opposing this bill, and I just want to know, how are you contributing to the environment, and what are you doing to reduce energy aroma in your homes or school districts or county?
Well, I'll go first. Well, we have a recycling program that will also help with conserving with trees. We've also tried to implement, and I think this is also something you learn at home. When you walk out of a room, you cut off the lights. When you're brushing your teeth, don't run the water. So it's simple things that would help without putting hidden costs that would infringe our communities with these taxes and increasing everything.
I'm a very hardworking mother, and what I have done is change the light bulbs. And believe me, they're expensive. Each box, for 4, it's like $18. My kids have to be up in several after-school programs. And like I don't spend that much time with them, I try to make sure that those after-school programs get back to the community. They have been part of several reforestations events, like once every month. They do beach cleanups. They go ahead and reinforce dunes in the beaches. And they go ahead and also do volunteering work with street cleanups. And I think that little by little, once we go ahead and teach our children, they will be our future leaders. Thank you.
Speaking from the educational point of view, I know for certain we have several programs which implement environmental sustainability, from anything as the simple things that we previously mentioned, the lights, the water, simple things like those that add up. But also, especially in education, we do try, especially in this 21st century, we definitely implement these new sustainability, I guess you refer to them as regulations or new policies that we do teach children, especially at a young age. We know that this is a pressing issue in our modern world, and we've seen the effects of it all. Many of these children have lived the effects of a low environmental sustainability, and therefore we do teach the children about how to preserve our environment. And I think that is one of the areas that is really covered in education nowadays. And so I feel if we do continue to do this, it is something that will eventually be, if not resolved, it'll definitely be in a better state.
One final note to add to that is my construction company. You can imagine the amount of supplies that we use on a daily basis. All the leftover materials that we use, we recycle them or we reuse them in the next house. That's one of the things that I'm really, really strict about. So we don't waste material. We recycle it and we utilize it, or either in the next construction company, or we take it to our local recycling center.
This question is for County Commissioner and Superintendent. And since you deal with budgets, do you see or recommend better use for these funds?
Well, I personally think we do. I'm a big advocate for education, and recently, 2010, we did not want to open up our funds to help education, to help our future generations that will be here to lead our nation and our world. So I believe in first investing with education, and then also improving the areas around my county, little roads, help that improve there. Something people can see right now that will also help in the future. Not taking a big risk and maybe I will gain something, maybe not. That's what I feel like funds should go towards.
I agree, as she says that we first need to educate our students and constituents in general, because many citizens do not understand the benefits of this bill, and they therefore are questioning it. Because of course there are regular citizens that go about their daily work. They are not aware of all the logistics and facts. And so we need to first educate everyone so that they will know. And of course, I believe there are other areas that our budget can go to, specifically in education. There are several other programs, many schools right now in low-income location or areas definitely could use a better budget funds for other things, such as programs, after-school programs. Many parents, there's other pressing issues, such as many parents don't have anyone to take care of their children. So the daycare, there's educational programs, sports funding, all of that, as well as health care in general for these children. There's just so many other areas that I feel are much more pressing at the moment and would better benefit our cities as a whole.
Hello, I'm Nora from CNN, and this is for Superintendent. State funds for education are being wasted because the amount of children that are missing school is caused by air pollution. How do you propose that we stop carbon emissions?
Well, I believe the root of that would be to educate not only children but parents, especially in this subject, because parents are essentially in homes. They are the ones that are sustaining environmental health and promoting it. Children don't know. They are not, they can't make their own daily decisions. So if their parents were to take good care of them at home, make sure that at their school they are well, make sure that they are conserving energy as well at home, and promoting good air, good food, nutrition, I think is a really huge issue. There's many factors that go into a child's health, and I don't think that it is fair to blame their health on specifically environmental issues. I think there's many factors that go in there. There's health records, there's their environment that they're currently living in. There's also their background. So as long as I think parents are aware, and they will definitely make the bigger difference, I believe.
Hello, April Sexton from MSNBC. There are, this is directed to you, the superintendent. There are, using some of the rhetoric y'all have been using, there are numerous grants and initiatives to create green buildings, and there are some companies that offer free installations and stuff like that. Now, if the money were able to be found to implement these, green initiatives in some of these buildings, how can you look at 7-year-old Molly and explain to her that the breadwinners, as you said, were unable to still afford to help future generations with clean air?
So the question was how?
Yes, when there are initiatives and there are grant programs and there are things out there to help help buildings to be renovated and to help offset the costs of some of these initiatives, how can we explain to, as educators and as mothers and as breadwinners, how can we explain that cost is still too great to a young girl who has health issues, with breathing health issues? How can we explain that to her?
There are several other children out there with other, similar, I guess you could say, disease. There's other, it's the same way. How can you explain to someone who has, who has actual disorders and other diseases, and
In
regards to the environment. Okay, well, the point is that you still can't, or still aren't, even if there are programs funding, there's not going to be enough, realistically speaking. And one way or another, they are going to have to be paid for from some sort of fund, which will likely come from citizens. So it is a sad truth, but there are other pressing issues at the same time. And the reality of it is that there's not enough funds for it right now.
I honestly feel really bad about Molly's situation, but the reality is also that her environment, the very environment that she may be living in, is not actually, we don't know if it's caused by the buildings. She is in an old school, but the thing is, why are we going to start with renovating all the buildings? Why don't we start with educating people and just use that as our primary source? Our entire environment is polluted because people don't recycle. All our families recycle and all our families make those efforts, but why don't you guys put into effort actually educating people and using something that'll give them a future, an education that'll give them something to work on for their kids and next generations, rather than do one big construction and redo all the buildings and then, just, that's it, that's all we're gonna do. I feel like her children, Molly's children, can then benefit from that as well as her, not just the building. Okay.
I'm gonna answer your question as well. Well, basically, let's be honest. There's rents out there. However, with the bill, there's no cost. There's an indeterminate cost. So yes, people said they have the fund, but this might be over their budget willing to give. First, we need to see how much this was actually cost. There's no cost, so we can't determine if the grants will help or different initiatives or anything. There's no cost, so first we need to see the numbers. People like to see numbers. I know before you go shopping, you'll like to see the price tag on the dress you buy before you purchase it. So people need to know what they're investing in. Before that, we can't willing to pass something without knowing how much it will cost.
Great, along those lines, that's wonderful.
I'm sorry, I'd like to add something to that. My heart goes out to Wally because I'm a mother, and I understand that. But right now, we have the cleanest air in the whole world. Compared to other countries, our air is cleaner. And what I'm just would like to add to that is that I'm already working 2 jobs, just ready to make ends meet. I can't possibly start working a 3rd job. I really can't. Thank you.
Along the lines of money and people liking numbers, do you have the numbers on the costs associated with the training programs that you're referring to in comparison to the costs of the green initiatives going toward greener buildings and reducing emissions on these companies and with these companies? Do you have the numbers, since you like numbers?
Well, how could you compare? We don't have any
I'm just going off
calculation
of what
on.
was said, you're going and moving towards saying that we should go toward training and education programs, and we know how much those things would cost in comparison to what the bill cost would be.
Well, I think that's the question at hand. We need to know that, and so far in the bill, nothing has been said. How could we possibly compare? We're just assuming, based on what is known of high or energy efficient products and equipment, most of those things are costly, even from a light bulb. A higher energy efficiency light bulb, it costs much more than a regular one. And so we just want to, just based off of what is already known, but there is no clear cost as to compare yet.
Dr. Rodriguez noted that the budget will be coming from them, and now we wonder who is them and where are they getting that money? So then is this going to come back to the taxpayers? That's why this is so unclear. The budget that I made is an estimated cost of going basically green with the company and looking at some of the things that y'all are recommending, and y'all said there's a 3-year limit, so basically in those 3 years, that's what it would cost me. So I would really just want to know where all the money's coming from. Is it going to come back to get us?
This question is for small business owners. You said go with a construction company and sort of piggyback off of what she said and speaking from an economical standpoint. If you cannot afford these in 3 years, any of these costs, when or if you do find them out, do you have a plan B?
My only plan B is either closing down my business and maybe just trying to get a regular job. And my other option is going into debt, just getting a loan and trying to see how I'm going to pay that off, and probably take me about at least 5 to 10 years. And by the time my children are in college, so that's a big worry for me. That's my plan B. We really don't have a plan B, and the incentives don't say that there's nothing that says, these are your incentives, we're going to give you this much money back. There's nothing that says that, so that's what I'm worried about, just going into debt or maybe just closing down my business.
Okay, my question is to the construction company owner, and I just want to know, if your company was hired to make these renovations for a state building or whatnot, do your employees have the skills necessary, and if they don't, how much will it cost you to train these employees, and how long will it take for them to be trained?
Okay, my employees do not have the skills necessary to install energy efficient windows or to install paneling that is energy efficient. They don't have all these skills, and it would definitely take retraining them. These workers have been maybe doing their job for 10 or 15 but also time.
This question is for Mother. How is energy efficiency enough to spur you into doing this? Like, just saving a little few dollars here and there, is that enough to make you want to go out and buy these and make these efficient upgrades in your home? Or does there need to be more of an incentive behind this?
There really has to. I'm really more concerned about the education. I think that's a problem that we have. And because there's been already cuts in it. And I think that we should be focusing more on education than on efficiency for energy. Because that's not a problem that we're currently having. But the education of our kids, our children, they will be the future of our country, and I think that we really need to concentrate on that.
I'd just like to add to that quickly. There are other issues that she mentioned, I think that would that are more important, such as nutrition and education. Those are issues I think that deserve a bigger, more attention, really. And so I don't think in this bill there is much incentive for regular, well, for any citizen, really. I mean, it would be great to have a nice environment, but there really isn't much incentive, and I can say that from the educational point of view as well.
On the lines of incentives for customers, electricity prices have been above the national average for Texas. Texans have paid, like, over the 10-year period of competition, retail competition, they paid over $11 billion more on a national average. How can you explain to customers that if we would implement regulations that that would be able to allow their bills to be reduced? So how can you explain the lack of, as you say, incentives for customers?
Well, first of all, with the add to the bills and everything, they're adding more to each customer bills, the companies and everything, they're adding onto the bills during those peak hours to conserve energy. So they add on more to each bill. So that's more on that perspective. What we're focusing on, what 1340 is focusing on, is creating a council and trying to get counties involved with air emission and trading without telling us how much it will cost. So that's the thing. They don't even know how much it will cost. So how will you expect people, citizens who they represent, agree to adding on taxes with something they don't know how much it will cost?
But there's no set amount on how much these councils and these groups would cost.
Exactly, that's the point.
That you're saying that you're implying that we should put together to investigate. Is that what you're saying?
We need to know the cost. That's point blank. Before you go into anything, we need to know the cost. How much are citizens paying? How much are we as taxpayers paying? That's what we need to know. And without that, 1340 do not provide that, so why pass it?